The morning sun shimmered across the marina, turning the calm water into a mirror of gold and blue. Yachts of every size swayed gently in their slips, their polished chrome and white decks gleaming like jewels. Workers moved about, washing decks, coiling ropes, and polishing railings. Among them was an old janitor named Samuel, dressed in faded blue coveralls that had seen more years of salt and sun than most of the people on those boats. He moved slowly, pushing his mop bucket along the dock, humming a tune no one recognized. To the world around him, Samuel was invisible, another aging worker, a background figure in a world that prized wealth and appearance above all else. But there was something different about the way he moved. His eyes, though framed with wrinkles, carried the quiet intelligence of someone who had seen too much and learned even more. He never spoke unless spoken to. The rich clients didn't even remember his name, though they all recognized the sound of his mop sliding rhythmically across the wooden docks. On this particular morning, the air buzzed with excitement. The Delacroix family, owners of one of the marina's most famous yachts, Elysium, were hosting a lavish party that evening. Their daughter, Isabella Delacroix, had returned from a European trip and planned to showcase her yacht to friends, celebrities, and investors. The Elysium wasn't just any yacht, it was a $20 million floating palace, custom-built with Italian marble, gold-trimmed fixtures, and a grand piano that gleamed in the sunlight streaming through glass ceilings. Everything about it screamed perfection. Isabella arrived at the dock surrounded by her entourage. She wore oversized sunglasses, a silk scarf fluttering around her neck, and carried herself with the air of someone used to admiration. Her laughter carried over the marina as she gave orders to her staff, snapping her fingers when someone hesitated. "Make sure the champagne is Dom Perignon, not that cheap one," she said. "And the roses need to be white, not cream. It's a difference you should see." As she walked down the dock, her high heels clicked against the wooden planks. Samuel, mopping the dock near her yacht, instinctively moved aside, lowering his gaze. The moment her eyes fell on him, she frowned slightly, as though his very presence tainted the air of sophistication she wanted to create. "Excuse me," she said sharply, her voice cutting through the noise. "Would you mind not dripping that dirty water near my yacht? It smells like old fish." Samuel paused, his weathered hands gripping the mop handle. "Apologies, ma'am," he said softly, his tone calm and respectful. "Just trying to finish before the sun gets too hot." Her lips curled into a mocking smile. "Finish somewhere else," she replied. "You're leaving streaks on the dock. Do you even know how to clean properly?" A few people nearby chuckled. Isabella turned to her friends, smirking. "You'd think people working around luxury yachts would at least know what polish looks like." Her words stung, but Samuel said nothing. He simply nodded, moved his bucket aside, and continued his work silently at the next slip. To her, it was a moment of superiority, a way to assert her place in a world built on image. To him, it was just another reminder that people rarely saw beyond a uniform. Hours passed. The marina grew busier as preparations for the evening began. Workers carried boxes of decorations, chefs unloaded crates of fine food, and technicians tested the sound system aboard Elysium. Isabella oversaw everything, her perfectionism bordering on obsession. She wanted this night to outshine every other party of the season. As the sun dipped lower, painting the horizon in orange and pink, something unexpected happened. A faint alarm echoed from inside the Elysium. Then, a louder clunking sound reverberated through the hull. The yacht's crew rushed below deck, their faces tight with concern. Within minutes, the engines fell silent. The elegant hum of machinery that usually powered the yacht's system stopped completely. "What's going on?" Isabella demanded, striding onto the deck. "Ma'am," the captain said cautiously, "it seems we have a mechanical fault in the main engine control system. Possibly the generator link. We're running diagnostics now." "Fix it," she snapped. "We have less than 3 hours before guests arrive. This yacht needs to be ready." The captain nodded and hurried off, shouting orders. Technicians came aboard, carrying toolboxes and laptops. For over an hour, they tried everything, rebooting systems, checking circuits, replacing fuses, but nothing worked. The lights flickered uncertainly, and the air conditioning cut in and out. Without power, the yacht couldn't even host the evening event. Word spread quickly across the marina. People whispered that the Delacroix yacht had gone dead. Isabella's frustration boiled over. "You're all useless," she shouted at the technicians. "Do you even know what you're doing? I'm paying a fortune for this boat, and you can't keep it running for one night." As she stood fuming, her father, a tall man with a quiet but authoritative presence, approached. "Isabella," he said gently, "shouting won't solve it. Maybe we should delay the party." "Delay it," she said, aghast. "Are you serious? Do you know how many people are coming? My reputation." Before she could finish, a voice spoke from the dock below. "Excuse me, miss," it said softly. Everyone turned. It was Samuel, standing near the edge of the yacht, holding his cap in his hands. His face was calm but serious. "I couldn't help overhearing. If it's an electrical fault or an engine issue, maybe I can take a look." The crew exchanged glances. Isabella laughed incredulously. You're a janitor. What could you possibly know about a yacht worth more than your entire life?" Samuel didn't flinch. "You might be surprised what a man can learn over the years," he replied quietly. The captain hesitated. "Miss, at this point, we've tried everything. It couldn't hurt to let him check." Isabella rolled her eyes. "Fine, but if he breaks something, it's coming out of your paycheck, not mine." Samuel climbed aboard carefully, setting down his mop and rolling up his sleeves. His hands, though worn, moved with practiced precision. He asked the captain a few questions, short, direct ones that made the crew exchange curious looks. Within minutes, he was below deck, opening panels and tracing wires. He worked silently, occasionally humming that same quiet tune from the morning. Isabella watched from above, her arms crossed. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. But as the minutes passed, the crew began whispering among themselves. Samuel's movements weren't random. He seemed to know exactly where to look. He bypassed panels, rerouted circuits, and adjusted valves with the ease of someone who had done this many times before. After nearly 40 minutes, a sudden low hum filled the air. Lights flickered on, steady and strong. The air conditioning kicked back to life. The control systems on the bridge began to glow with color. The yacht was alive again. The crew stared in disbelief. The captain ran diagnostics, eyes widening. "Everything's back online," he said. "Engine control, power grid, even the stabilizers are balanced." "How?" Samuel emerged from below, wiping his hands on a rag. "Just a faulty junction box and a corroded bypass relay," he said modestly. "Happens a lot when these sit too long without proper grounding. Should be fine now, but I'd replace that relay before your next voyage." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then, a burst of applause came from one of the crew members. Soon others joined in. Even the captain smiled. But Isabella stood frozen, her expression unreadable. The man she had mocked hours earlier had just saved her event, her pride, and her family's reputation. Her father stepped forward, extending a hand to Samuel. "Thank you, sir," he said sincerely. "You may have just saved the evening." Samuel shook his hand humbly. "Just doing what I can, sir." Isabella finally found her voice. "Wait," she said, stepping closer. "How did you know all that? Who are you, really?" Samuel smiled faintly. "Just someone who's spent a lot of years around engines," he said. "Used to build them before I cleaned around them." Her father looked at him closely. "Samuel Reed, weren't you the chief engineer at Kingston Marine back in the 90s? The old man nodded slowly. "That's right. Before the company downsized and replaced us with automation. Been here ever since." A murmur spread through the small crowd. Kingston Marine was legendary for designing some of the best yacht engines in the world. Isabella's eyes widened slightly, realization dawning. The man she had mocked was a retired engineer, one of the best in his field. Her cheeks flushed, and for once, she had no clever words. She looked away, embarrassed. Her father noticed, but said nothing. Instead, he clapped Samuel on the shoulder. "If you ever want your old line of work back, I'd be proud to have you on our maintenance team." Samuel gave a small smile. "I appreciate that, sir. But I'm content where I am. These docks have been my home for a long time." As he gathered his tools and began to leave, Isabella took a hesitant step forward. "Wait," she said quietly. He turned. Her voice softened. "I'm sorry for what I said earlier. I was wrong." Samuel nodded gently. "Apology accepted, miss. Just remember, Every person you meet knows something you don't. Those words lingered long after he walked away. That evening, the Elysium shone brighter than ever. The party went on as planned, laughter and music echoing across the water. But Isabella wasn't quite the same. She found herself glancing toward the docks, half expecting to see the quiet old janitor moving along with his mop and bucket, humming that familiar tune. When she asked one of the dock hands about him later, she learned that Samuel didn't come back after that night. Some said he retired, others said he'd gone to work for a small workshop nearby. But Isabella never forgot his words or the humility in his eyes. Months later, when she commissioned a new yacht, she had a small brass plate installed in the engine room. It read simply,